You do not need another month of trying, another round of advice, or another complicated ritual that leaves you more tired than transformed. You are not waiting on better timing, a kinder market, or a perfect sign. What you are missing is a sentence, one line of lawful speech spoken with authority, that tells your world what to do and obligates the unseen to obey. This is not motivational varnish for a weary week. This is the operating system of spiritual mechanics. The invisible does not answer noise, it answers command. When the word is legal, aligned, and alive in your mouth, delay loses jurisdiction. Things that seemed fixed begin to loosen, paths that looked closed swing on their hinges, and what once took seasons to assemble begins to organize itself within a single cycle of the sun. If you have been praying, journaling, researching, and still waking up to the same glass wall, the problem is not your sincerity, it is your procedure. Most people try to negotiate with life emotionally. They plead with God in private and then contradict themselves in public. They rehearse hope in the morning and rehearse fear by noon. The result is a split vibration. 2 reports, 2 expectations, 2 opposing instructions sent into the field. The law is exact. It does not read your diary or your intentions. It takes its orders from your decree. Where there is no decree, the law remains unengaged. Where the word is unsure, the demonstration stays unborn. Where the tone trembles, the answer waits just outside the door like a courier who has not yet heard their name. You have been trained to respect time, to bow to process, to measure growth by calendars and charts. But spiritual law does not move on a calendar, it moves on a word. Creation itself began with a line, not a ladder. Light did not arrive because someone worked harder in the dark. Light arrived because a sentence was released with authority into the void. That same architecture has never been revoked. Authority still lives in the mouth of the one who knows they have the right to speak. The universe is not a dictatorship of chance, it is a jurisdiction of law. And law takes effect when a legal utterance is issued by a legal voice. Why then do intelligent, sincere, hardworking people live in circles? Because they analyze, react, and describe instead of decreeing. They narrate the weather of their feelings and then wonder why the climate never changes. They are captains standing on a deck with the engines warm and the crew attentive, but their mouth never names a port. The ship is not cursed. The sea is not cruel. The voyage stalls because no order was given. Silence is not neutral. It is consent to the last instruction your life received from fear, culture, memory, or family prophecy. If you do not speak, your days will be arranged by whatever voice shouted last. An old teacher, an anxious parent, a trend, or the hum of your own doubt. You are not meant to be curated by the past. You are meant to govern the present. Governance begins with a sentence, not a paragraph of apologies, not a page of excuses, a sentence. The mind wants complexity so it has something to delay with. The law wants clarity so it has something to build with. The moment a clear, aligned, lawful word is spoken, the invisible begins to measure a form around it, like a tailor who knows your exact size. This is why scattered affirmations fizz out. They are ornamental words with no legal weight. A true decree carries identity, timing, and outcome in one breath. Identity, who you are authorized to be. Timing, when the order is due. Outcome, what must appear. When those 3 are present, the word does not wander. It works. You have felt this truth in flashes. A phone call you made without trembling. A yes that was clean. A no that was final. The result was immediate, because your vibration was undivided. There was no inner parliament debating what the mouth had already ruled. Imagine that decisiveness wrapped into a single sentence and spoken as a daily command. Imagine the next 24 hours of your life being organized by a word you set in motion before the day could set its teeth in you. Imagine waking tomorrow inside a field that has been reordered while you slept, not by luck but by law. This is not fantasy. It is procedure. It is what happens when you take your tongue out of retirement and put it back on the bench where verdicts are issued. Let me say plainly what religious habit sometimes hides. Longing does not legislate. Tears can cleanse you, they cannot command for you. God is compassionate, yes, but heaven does not deliver packages to unsigned addresses. Your decree is the signature. Your sentence is the address label. The law hears the name on the label and routes the parcel to your door. No label, no delivery. You can be surrounded by what belongs to you and still not receive it because your mouth has not created lawful access. You may believe, hope, and worship and still malfunction at the level of speech. That is not moral failure, it is procedural ignorance. Today, you will correct procedure. We begin with posture. Authority is a tone before it is a volume. Speak as one who has jurisdiction. Your words should not sound like a question dressed as a prayer. They should sound like a key turning. The key is simple. The door is heavy, but it is hinged. When authority meets alignment, heavy things move with quiet ease. If you have ever watched a professional open a safe, you know the difference. No banging, no panic, just the correct sequence, and then the vault surrenders. Your sentence is that sequence. You will not shout the vault open. You will not flatter it into kindness. You will align numbers that have always been there, and the door will release, because doors yield to order. What then is the order inside the sentence that rearranges a life? It contains 3 laws in one rhythm. First, assumption, not the casual kind, but the sacred kind. I step in. Stepping in is different from wanting in. Wanting hovers, stepping transfers. Second, divine timing, not someday, but already prepared. If it is already prepared, you are not begging a reluctant heaven to start building. You are acknowledging a finished blueprint and taking possession. Third, accelerated demonstration, not eventually, but within 24 hours by law. 24 hours is not a dare you throw at God. It is the rhythm by which you keep your own field from wobbling. It is a container that protects your faith from the leaks of the day. When you hold your word intact for one full cycle, you will witness movement, sometimes as a sign, sometimes as substance, always as confirmation that the order has been processed. Perhaps you fear that such boldness will make you arrogant. Real authority is not swagger. It is consent to truth. It is refusing to argue with the will of God for your good. It is alignment, not performance. There is nothing humble about contradicting heaven with your mouth and calling it caution. There is nothing wise about narrating lack as if lack were law. Humility is obedience to the order of things. Speak the right word and let the law do what it was designed to do. You are not trying to wrestle outcomes from the dark. You are switching the track so that what is already in motion meets you at the right station. Listen closely. The universe does not respond to need, it responds to instruction. Need can describe a valley for years. Instruction builds a road through it in a day. When your word is steady, your day becomes obedient. Emails arrive that were lost in someone's draft folder. A debtor remembers a promise. A stranger says your name in a room you are not in. What changed? Not God's mood. Your jurisdiction. A lawful sentence gave heaven a place to land. If you want more evidence, give more instruction. If you want different evidence, issue a different instruction. But do not issue 2. Do not spray the field with contradictions and then blame the soil when nothing grows. A farmer who sows wheat on Monday and digs it up on Tuesday to check if it is wheat has learned nothing about seasons. Your 24-hour container is a season. Guard it. Get the seed in and keep your hands off the roots. You might ask, if the law is this simple, why doesn't everyone do it? Because clarity is costly. It requires you to stop outsourcing your agency to time, luck, or other people's decisions. It requires you to stop romanticizing the struggle and start governing the terms. It requires a mouth trained to obedience. This is why we practice rhythm. Rhythm makes courage ordinary. When you speak at the same gates, waking, midday, evening, and midnight, your nervous system learns the sound of authority and stops interrupting you with old alarms. You become impossible to gaslight by appearances because your day has already been told what to be. The outer will still test you with noise, but the inner has a metronome now, and noise cannot overrule a metronome. Before this journey is over, you will receive the sentence, and you will know how to carry it. You will learn to release it without apology, to hold it without leaking, to let it do its work while you do yours. You will discover that the heaviest lifting of your life is done by a line of sound, not a line of people. You will watch the field obey you not because you bullied it, but because you finally spoke its language. Some will hear this and think it too simple. Let them keep their sophistication and their stalemates. You are here for results, not ornaments. You are here to step into a day that answers to your word the way a tide answers to the moon. Not theatrically, faithfully. So take a breath. Sit a little taller. Put your feet on the floor as if you were stepping into a courtroom where the verdict has already been written in your favor and you are simply there to read it into the record. This is your record. This is your right. We will not run laps around your problem. We will not list 10 reasons it is hard. We will do what law respects. We will speak, we will align, and we will observe the demonstration. The next hours of your life are not random. They are clay. Your sentence is the mold. And when clay meets a mold, it does not debate. It takes shape. You have waited long enough for permission slips from a world that cannot authorize your future. You have waited long enough for evidence before you commit to speech. Evidence follows alignment. Alignment follows decree. Decree follows identity. The fastest way to change your life is to remember who is speaking when you open your mouth. You are not a beggar asking the door to like you. You are the key bearer. Keys do not flatter locks. Keys turn. In this house, we turn keys. In this house, we speak law. In this house, we stop bowing to time and start using it as a servant. 24 hours is enough for a turnaround to announce itself when a lawful word is in command. It will not always look like the finish line. Sometimes it will look like a hinge cracking free, a path clearing, a burden lifting, a message finally arriving. Do not despise the first fruit because it is not the harvest. The law never wastes motion. From this moment forward, consider your mouth the gate of your house. What passes through it determines what passes into it. We will set a guard on that gate. We will choose a sentence that carries identity, timing, and outcome in one rhythm, and we will speak it as instruction, not as a wish. You will recognize the sentence when you hear it because your spirit will stand up inside you. Until then, hold the posture you have found now. Clear back, quiet breath, steady eyes. Authorities look like this, even when no one is watching. And when you are ready to speak, do not look at your mountain as if it could answer you. Speak to it as if it must answer the law that backs you. Mountains have no vote. They have measurements, not vetoes. This is the threshold. Cross it. The days ahead will not ask if you remember what you heard tonight. They will test whether you practice it. You will, because you are done outsourcing your future to the weather of your feelings. You are done telling old stories as if they were laws. You are done waiting for light to find you. You are ready to say the line that summons it. When you do, Do not look for fireworks, look for order. Order is the first miracle. Order is the whisper that tells you the house is being put back together. And once order begins, overflow learns your address. We will name the sentence soon. For now, fix this conviction in your chest. Transformation is not on a calendar. It is on a word. The word will be yours. The hours will obey. And when the morning meets you, it will not find you begging it to be kind. It will find you standing in the doorway of your own life, issuing a lawful instruction that makes the day answer to you. Most people do not wake up inside fresh days. They wake up inside reruns. The set changes slightly. The dialogue is improvised. The actors are new, but the plot is the same. The loop begins the second you open your eyes. You check the memory of yesterday, you measure yourself against it, and then you narrate the morning as if it were already decided. That narration is the contract. It is small, casual, almost invisible, but it is binding because the law does not grade importance by your emotions. It reads authority in your language. Let's see what happens sounds harmless, but it is a decree of passivity. I'm behind again feels honest, but it deputizes delay. I hope something changes wears the costume of faith, but in law it files as uncertainty. Uncertainty is not neutral, it is a barricade. The universe is orderly, not sentimental. It routes by clear instruction. When the instruction is cloudy, reality idles at the curb with the engine running, waiting for a destination you never name. This is why intelligent, spiritual, sincere people can spend years living just off the shoreline of their own life. They are not weak and they are not cursed. They are simply operating on a descriptive vocabulary in a prescriptive world. Description says what is. Prescription says what will be. Description is a weather report. Prescription is a court order. Your day, your business, your body, your relationships, everything that obeys law responds to orders, not observations. You can spend an entire year narrating your valley to God and never build a road through it. Roads are built by orders. You do not need louder prayers or longer journals. You need a lawful sentence spoken with jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the recognition that you are the authorized voice for your own timeline. Until you accept that, time will be the loudest voice in the room. Time will always appoint itself your supervisor if you refuse to govern it. There is an algorithm to delay, and it is insultingly simple. First, you perceive a familiar pattern. Second, you interpret it using the oldest story you have. Third, you repeat the story as a sentence that sounds true because it matches your files. The moment that sentence is spoken, the loop refreshes. You think you are venting, but in law, you are renewing a contract. This is why the shift must happen at the sentence level, not merely at the thought level. Thoughts float. Sentences file. The invisible can read both, but it executes the filed documents first. When your speech and your intention disagree, the field honors the speech. It is not punishing you, it is protecting order. If vibration is the pattern matter must obey, then the clearest vibration is the one you made physical by sound. Sound is matter's metronome. Sound is the stamp that makes a pattern legal in your world. Silence is not an escape from this dynamic. Silence is permission for the last decree to stand. Your life is never ungoverned. When you abdicate, the oldest voice regains the throne. Fear, culture, memory, someone else's prophecy about you that you forgot to cancel because you thought ignoring it was the same as overturning it. Ignoring is not overturning. Overturning is a sentence. It reads into the record. That word is canceled, replaced, and sealed. Canceled is how you unplug the loop. Replaced is how you prevent vacuum. Sealed is how you protect the new instruction from casual sabotage later in the day. People lose their miracles not because the law failed, but because their mouth reopened the case after the verdict. The field is obedient. It will return to litigation if you ask it to. If you want the wind to hold, stop appealing your own rulings with nervous chatter. This is where tone enters as jurisdiction. In the natural, two people can say the same words and get two different outcomes. In the spirit, the difference is not vocabulary, it is authority. Law listens for the voice of someone who knows, not someone who hopes to be believed. Authority is not volume, it is congruence. Congruence is when your sentence, your posture, your breath, and your expectation are telling the same story. The field reads that coherency and moves quickly. Incoherence is when your mouth says one thing while your nervous system whispers another. The field reads that split and waits. Waiting is merciful. It would be cruel for reality to pour concrete on mixed orders. If you want speed, you must commit to a single instruction. This is why one sentence is more potent than 20. 20 sentences reveal anxiety. One reveals decision. Consider the difference between describing a storm and piloting a ship through it. Description yields to wind. Prescription sets coordinates and moves. The ship does not ask the storm for permission to cross. It asks the navigator for coordinates. You are the navigator. The wheel is in your chest. Every morning your life looks to you for coordinates. When you shrug, the currents pick for you. When you decree, the currents obey the chart. The chart is a sentence. It names identity, it names timing, it names outcome. Identity tells the wheel who is holding it, and strips the day of the right to argue. Timing prevents the dockhands of fear from untying you halfway out of the harbor and pulling you back to what looks safe. Outcome tells the crew which shoreline to watch for, so they do not mistake a detour for a destiny. Say less, but say it lawfully, and the sea will seem to change its nature, because you finally changed yours. You might protest that such a life of decree leaves no room for humility. On the contrary, decree is humility in action. It refuses to elevate appearances above truth. It refuses to call delay a law. It refuses to pretend that heaven is unpredictable when heaven has already published procedure. True humility is obedience to design. The design is clear. Speak first, then see. The opposite design, wait to see, then speak, is how you train your field to ignore you. When you only speak after evidence, you are not decreeing, you are captioning. Captions are for spectators, decrees are for governors. Decide once which you intend to be. The law respects a decisive soul because it can safely build around them without constantly tearing up flooring to accommodate new edits. I want you to audit the last 24 hours of your speech, not to feel guilty, but to learn your rhythm. What title did you accidentally give your day this morning while tying your shoes? What small sentence did you mutter when a message didn't arrive? What tone did you use when you told a friend how things are going? Those micro-sentences are not background noise. They are scaffolding. If you are standing in a room you do not like, look at the scaffolding. If the scaffolding is made of maybe, we'll see, that's just my luck, nothing ever sticks, or I'm trying, then the structure is doing exactly what you told it to do. Replace the scaffolding and the room will change. Not by magic, by mechanics. Replacement is a discipline, not a drama. The law of substitution is not a trick to outwit fear. It is a method to remove its microphone. When the old phrase rises, do not argue with it. Cancel it, replace it, and seal the replacement out loud. Cancel cuts the wire. Replace installs the new line. Seal insulates it against the weather of the afternoon. Use short language with clean edges. This is not the time for poetic flourishes. You are filing paperwork. Precision beats passion here because passion exhausts and precision executes. You will be tempted to correct your entire vocabulary in a day. Resist. Choose the one sentence that will govern the day, and let every replacement route back to it. Becoming minimal with your language is how you become maximal with your results. There is a reason we anchor the protocol at 4 gates: waking, midday, evening, and midnight. Those are the hinges of a 24-hour door. If you issue the same lawful instruction at the hinges, the door cannot help but swing on that word. The hinges are where squeaks live. Oil them with decree. The morning word outruns the arguments of the day. The midday word keeps you from drifting when momentum dips. The evening word recovers any leaks. The midnight word programs the subconscious while the surface world rests. The same sentence at each gate is not redundancy, it is reinforcement. You are training the most powerful servant you have, your own mind, to recognize which voice it must obey, even when you feel nothing. Feeling is a visitor, law is the landlord. Does this annul prayer? No, it repairs it. Prayer without decree becomes a diary entry addressed to heaven, sincere but not actionable. Decree without prayer becomes arrogance dressed as spirituality. The marriage is what moves mountains, communion for alignment, decree for instruction. You do not beg the mountain to be kind, you confirm heaven's will and then tell the mountain what to do. When your inner agreement is set, the outer order becomes simple. You speak once, you seal it, and you walk as if it were handled. Walking as if is not pretense, it is cooperation. Law finishes what motion starts. Motion is your signature under the sentence you issued earlier. If you won't sign, don't wonder why the package returns to sender. There is a warning that must be delivered with love. Do not speak a lawful sentence in the morning and then spend the afternoon entertaining, explaining, and defending it to people who have no jurisdiction in your life. Explanation is a slow leak. Entertainment is a drain. Defense is a court you did not need to attend. Your sentence is not a performance, it is a protocol. Treat it as a private instruction to the architecture of your day. Speak it clearly at the gates. Live it quietly between them. The field responds to consistency, not to applause. If someone asks how you are, answer with dignity, not theater. Aligned and underway is more accurate than a 10-minute speech about how you are manifesting. Royalty does not narrate their governance. They govern. You will notice as you practice that certain phrases no longer fit in your mouth. They taste like dust. That is a good sign. It means your inner court has revised the style guide. Where you used to say, "I'm overwhelmed," you will hear yourself say, "I'm prioritized." Where you would say, "I'm behind," you will say, "I'm on divine schedule." Where you would say, "Nothing is happening," you will say, "Order is underway." None of this is delusion. It is fidelity to the law you activated. It is the refusal to testify against your own decree. You are not lying to yourself. You are telling the truth before the evidence. Evidence is honest, but it is not first. Word is first. Evidence is obedient to word. That is the order from the beginning, and it has not changed. A final clarity for this section. The sentence that will govern your next 24 hours is not an incantation. It is a key. Keys do not work because you believe in keys with passion. They work because they are cut to a pattern that matches the lock. Belief gets you to the door. Pattern opens it. The pattern we will use carries identity, timing, and outcome in one breath for a reason. It aligns you, it schedules the field, and it names what must appear. When the pattern is full, resistance becomes noise instead of narrative. You hear it, but you're not hired by it. You remain employed by your decree. And in that employment, momentum becomes ordinary. Momentum is not a rush of luck. It is the predictable consequence of single instruction living. We will move soon into proof and practice, into how the law demonstrates itself the moment a lawful sentence is released, and why stories of sudden reversal are not exceptions, but templates. For now, settle this in your chest and on your tongue. You are not a spectator describing a life you did not choose. You are the authorized voice choosing it in real time. Every loop you have lived can be traced to an unlabeled sentence that kept renewing itself without your consent. Withdraw consent. Replace the sentence, seal the replacement, and watch what a single day does when it is not allowed to wander. Turnaround is not a miracle that visits the lucky. It is the ordinary behavior of law once it receives a lawful instruction. When you speak an aligned sentence, you are not throwing words into mystery and hoping they return as gifts. You are issuing a routed order that moves through a system designed to obey. The confusion begins when people imagine the system as sentimental. It is not. Law is precise, responsive, and indifferent to drama. It does not accelerate for tears or slow for panic. It reads authority, it checks alignment, and it executes. This is why two people can repeat the same phrase and see different outcomes. One is filing paperwork, the other is humming a tune. The difference is not eloquence, it is jurisdiction. Let me show you how the pipeline works. First, a sentence is formed that carries identity, timing, and outcome. Identity answers the question, who is speaking? Timing answers, when must the order render? Outcome answers, what must appear? When those three elements are present, your word carries a complete pattern. The moment the pattern is released aloud, the field begins to re-index around it. Re-indexing is not abstract. It is the reorganization of attention, the resurfacing of dormant opportunities, the sudden coherence of scattered pieces, the loosening of knots where your own contradictions had tied things tight. People call this coincidence because they do not want to admit how much of their past delay was self-authored. But the law is not shy. It will rearrange your day without apology once given the right to do so. Consider a concrete story. A woman arrived depleted, not for lack of effort, but for lack of order. 3 pressing problems snarled at once. A delinquent payment that threatened her housing, a stalled project that had gone quiet, and a friend-turned-creditor who had started to harden into an enemy. She had tried to fix all 3 by working the phones, by apologizing extensively, by promising to be different, and by praying in the tone of a person asking permission. Nothing moved. I told her that until she spoke as a governor, she would continue being treated as a petitioner. Until she issued a sentence, the law had nothing to act upon. I gave her a simple directive: speak 1 lawful line at the 4 gates of the day, upon waking, at midday, at evening, and just before sleep. Do not embellish it. Do not explain it. Do not translate it into anxiety for your friends. Sign the sentence with your behavior. Send the email you have been avoiding. Close the tab that keeps you spiraling. Put your house in small, visible order so the atmosphere matches the decree. Then leave the rest to law. She did not feel fireworks. She felt steady. That night before bed, she spoke the line and let her mind fall asleep inside it. When a decree is the last imprint on the nervous system, the subconscious begins to build around it while you are not looking. In the morning, she woke calmer than the facts warranted and spoke the same line again. No theatrics, no pleading, just a clear reissuance of the order. At midday, she received a message she had chased for weeks with no reply. The sender apologized for the delay and offered new terms favorable to her timeline. 2 hours later, the creditor called and, without prompting, softened his stance, proposed a payment plan she could manage, and this is the part that stunned her, thanked her for being direct about her intention to resolve it. Before bed, a 3rd domino fell. The delinquent notice, triggered by a system error, was corrected by a supervisor who just happened to review accounts that evening and noticed the discrepancy. 3 knots loosened in one cycle. She asked me, how could it shift this fast? My answer was the same as it will be for you. Law does not move by speed. It moves by alignment. The moment alignment is installed, movement appears quick, only because contradiction had stalled it for so long. If you still imagine that this is luck, I ask you to study what did not happen. She did not call 10 more times. She did not argue with the creditor. She did not confess her fears to 5 friends for the relief of being understood. She removed leaks. She sealed the sentence. She moved only in ways that agreed with what she had already spoken. That is not superstition. That is integrity. When your actions stop contradicting your decree, reality stops hesitating. It is merciful for the outer world to pause when you are sending mixed signals. It prevents the tragedy of pouring concrete on confusion. Once your signal is single, the pour begins. Fresh cement looks like favor to the untrained eye. It is simply law doing its job. Let us examine the inner mechanics behind such turnarounds so you can expect them without wobble. Words are not decorations. They are patterns the mind and the field must follow. Sound imprints the nervous system faster than silent thought because it recruits breath, posture, and resonance. When you speak a lawful sentence, you capture your own physiology into agreement. Shoulders settle, breath deepens, eyes steady. The body becomes a bell that rings congruence. This is not mystical. It is efficient. A coherent body no longer broadcasts emergency signals that dispatch your attention to 100 fake fires. Without those alarms, you notice emails you would have missed, numbers you can call, doors you can knock on, and opportunities already leaning in your direction, waiting for you to point. People call this sudden clarity. It is the sensation of your inner parliament falling silent under a single order. Next, the sentence reorders valuation. Before decree, you chase what seems urgent. After decree, you choose what serves the order. That shift alone can produce a 24-hour pivot because misprioritization is the most common thief of breakthrough. When the order is clear, you stop bleeding energy into low-yield tasks designed to soothe fear and start investing energy into high-yield actions aligned with outcome. In the case above, it meant 1 email that triggered 3 responses instead of 12 that impressed no one. Law loves economy. The shortest path is not always the fastest in the natural, but it is always the fastest in the spirit. Decree reveals that path. Third, your sentence alters relational gravity. People feel authority. They may not have language for it, but they recognize when your words come from a resolved place. Notice, the creditor softened not because she begged, but because he sensed a new order in her tone. Firm, unmixed, unhostile. Authority disarms defense. It is difficult to be adversarial with someone who is not tensing against you. Decree calms the field by removing your need to win a personality contest. You are no longer performing for agreement. You are operating by law. Others adjust because law is easier to work with than anxiety. You do not need them to understand your metaphysics to cooperate with your clarity. Clarity is its own persuasion. Fourth, a lawful sentence creates space for serendipity to deliver what effort could not. Serendipity is not chaos. It is order moving along lines you could not see. When you are misaligned, you call these moments rare and random. When you are aligned, you call them normal. The supervisor who just happened to check the account, the friend who just remembered your conversation, the door that just opened, are all evidence that once the order is issued, the field begins to work in the background with thousands of tiny hands. You are not powerful because you control those hands. You are powerful because you do not attempt to. You give the order and stay out of the way except where your signature is needed. Does this mean every decree will surface the entire harvest in 24 hours? No. It means the turnaround begins within that window, with visible signs strong enough to keep you in rhythm. 24 hours is a container, not a threat. Some demonstrations are hinges, some are doors, some are hallways that open into rooms you did not know existed. The rule is simple: do not dismiss a hinge because it is not a door. A callback, a corrected statement, a sense of internal lift, a favor you did not request. These are not small. They are proofs that the order is being processed. Receipts precede delivery. Only a novice returns a package because the receipt was not heavy enough. You will hear objections, your own and those of people who love you. They will ask whether this is denial of reality. It is denial of dictatorship by appearances. There is a difference. You are not ignoring facts. You are renegotiating their jurisdiction. When a judge issues a ruling, the facts do not disappear. They are reorganized under law. That is what your sentence does. It places scattered facts under a new order. Another objection: what if I speak and nothing happens? Something always happens, but not always where you expect first. When a seed is planted, the first activity is underground. If you demand the first leaf within an hour, you will call the seed a liar and dig it up. The wise farmer waters what they cannot yet see. Within one cycle, you will sense motion. Keep your hands off the roots. Keep your mouth loyal to the instruction. I must also warn you about counterfeit movement. The moment you decree, the old pattern often attempts one last performance. A distracting invitation, an argument that would drain you, a sudden urge to reorganize your desk instead of sending the proposal. These are not random. They are inertia, pretending to be urgency. Recognize the costume. Say no kindly, and proceed with what serves the sentence. This is not cruelty. It is stewardship. You are not responsible to give your day to every demand. You are responsible to deliver your day to the word you issued at dawn. Protecting that delivery line is how you honor the law you activated. One more story to anchor your trust. A man sat in a career holding pattern, respected but invisible. He believed he needed a rebrand, a new certification, and a larger network to move. He received instead a sentence and the same four-gate protocol. On the first day he spoke it, he felt foolish and then strangely legitimate, as if he had finally introduced himself by his true name. At midday, he sent a concise message to a dormant contact, not to beg for a role, but to name his direction and availability. By late afternoon, he was invited to present work he had completed months earlier and shelved. The next morning, well within the 24-hour container, he received a provisional offer wrapped in the phrase, "We were just talking about someone like you yesterday." None of this was magic. All of it was alignment. The work had been done. The door was there. His former language had been standing in front of it explaining why it might be locked. His new sentence turned the handle. If you are ready to test this, begin with small arenas where your nervous system is willing to believe quickly. A conversation that needs to shift tone, a payment that needs to clear, a piece of clarity that refuses to surface, a meeting that keeps drifting. Issue one sentence with identity, timing, and outcome. Speak it at the four gates. Sign it with one action that agrees with it. Refuse to contradict it in public or private. Expect a hinge within the cycle. Thank the hinge for being a hinge and let it swing. Then, when your trust is trained, bring the same procedure to the larger arenas, the ones you avoid mentioning because you have rehearsed their heaviness for too many years. Heaviness is an aura, not a law. It evaporates quickly under lawful speech because heaviness cannot explain itself to authority. It can only intimidate the untrained. Here is the last clarity you must carry into practice. The law does not respect the theater of urgency. It respects the dignity of order. Speak as one who is already inside the covenant of good. Speak as one who assumes completion in the invisible and invites its appearance in the visible by schedule. Speak as one who refuses to apologize for being aligned. Then walk like someone whose order is on the truck, not like someone afraid the warehouse forgot them. That posture is not pride. It is cooperation. The moment you practice it, the world around you adjusts with surprising speed because you have finally stopped moving the goalposts mid-game. Your sentence stabilizes the field. Stability accelerates delivery. Turnaround is fast because contradiction was slow. When you end contradiction, you remove friction. When you remove friction, you discover how quickly a life can rotate on a single hinge. That hinge is a word. Not a clever word, not a rare word, but a lawful one. Speak it, hold it, and let the next 24 hours show you what has always been true. The universe is not confused. It was waiting for instruction, and now, finally, it has one. You have felt the build, the tightening of focus, the correction of posture. We have cleared the clutter, identified the loop, watched law move the moment instruction arrived. Now we stop circling the runway. We land the plane. There is a sentence that gathers everything you have learned into one legal pattern: identity, timing, and outcome, and releases it as a single command the field can execute without confusion. I will give it to you plainly, without mythology, as a working instrument, not a slogan to admire. Speak it slowly, with the dignity of jurisdiction, and let the room adjust to it. I now enter the life already appointed to me. It becomes visible within 24 hours by divine law. You are free to memorize a shorter version if you prefer. I now enter what is prepared. It appears within 24 hours by divine law. But do not dilute the 3 pillars that make the key fit the lock. The wording is not magical. The structure is mechanical. Keep the structure and the mechanism will perform. Let us open the sentence like a safe and handle each component with care. The first phrase, I now enter, is the law of assumption. It is the opposite of hovering. Hovering wishes, waits, and watches for permission. Entering transfers your weight. It is a physical choice disguised as words. Your nervous system hears enter and begins to move your attention, your breath, your shoulders, and your decisions forward. This is why the first words matter. If you begin with I hope, the body negotiates. If you begin with I try, the body hedges. If you begin with one day, the body delays. I now enter signals to every system that waiting has been dismissed. It is not bravado, it is ownership. Assumption, in the spiritual sense, does not mean pretending facts are different. It means inhabiting the truth that already exists in spirit so that facts can reassemble around it. In Shinn's language, you do not force the demonstration. You step into it as if the door were already open, because in law, it is. The second phrase, the life already appointed to me, is the law of divine timing. Timing is not the clock's opinion, it is completion in the invisible. By naming your life as already appointed, you refuse the illusion that you are building a future from scratch with your bare hands and your dwindling energy. You acknowledge what heaven has drafted, finished, and stored with your name on it. This alignment corrects one of the most exhausting errors in modern spirituality: trying to create reality by personality instead of collecting what has been prepared by right of identity. When you say already appointed, you move from begging to receiving, from auditioning to inheriting. You are not asking the warehouse to start manufacturing, you are presenting the claim ticket. This phrase also protects you from counterfeits. Many opportunities glitter, only some are appointed. Appointed things fit. They carry ease without passivity, challenge without chaos, expansion without the smell of self-betrayal. Naming already appointed puts a filter on your day, so the wrong invitations slide off your schedule before they can drain your decree. The third phrase, it becomes visible within 24 hours by divine law, is the law of accelerated demonstration. Visibility is the promise, not theatrics. Within 24 hours is not a dare shouted at the sky, it is a containment strategy for your faith. It creates a sealed window during which you refuse to contradict yourself. In that window, you protect the sentence from nervous chatter and you train your attention to look for motion instead of evidence to worry. Some demonstrations are full-form arrivals. Others are hinges, receipts, and first fruits. You will recognize them because they share one trait. They are congruent with the sentence you issued. The phrase, by divine law, names the jurisdiction. You are not relying on mood, momentum, or the kindness of strangers. You are triggering a system that has never failed and never flattered anyone. Law does not argue with clarity. It fingerprints your word and sends the order where it belongs. Why this specific architecture? Because each segment corrects a habitual leak. I now enter cuts the leak of delay. Already appointed cuts the leak of hustling for what is yours. Within 24 hours by divine law cuts the leak of vague timing and unnamed authority. Take away any one pillar and the key wobbles in the lock. Keep all three and you will feel the door yield with quiet inevitability. If you are tempted to make the sentence longer, resist. Complexity is the ego's way of stalling. Simplicity is the spirit's way of executing. The field is not moved by your syllable count. It is moved by the precision of your pattern. Let us ground this in the precedent believers love to quote and rarely operationalize. Before they call, I answer. While they are still speaking, I hear. That is not poetry for a wall, though it reads beautifully. It is a technical description of response time when alignment is present. You will hear a voice saying, "This is the way, walk in it." That is not mysticism, it is a navigational protocol triggered by decree. As you have believed, so be it done unto you. That is not flattery, it is the legal tie between internal agreement and external performance. In each case, you find the same chain: word, alignment, movement. Not someday, in the same hour. The scriptures are not trying to romance you, they are trying to train you. They describe a system that respects clarity and rewards jurisdiction. Now to the manner of speech, because a lawful sentence delivered in an unlawful tone loses force. Speak as one who has access, not as one applying for membership. Lower your shoulders, let the breath deepen on the comma, give the nouns their full weight. Do not rush the phrase, already appointed. It carries the bulk of relief. Pause after 24 hours long enough for your nervous system to realize you are giving it a schedule. Then finish with, by divine law, like a signature, not a suggestion. If your voice trembles at first, do not curse yourself for being human. Tremble while you speak, and let the tremble subside on the second repetition. You are not summoning courage, you are establishing order, and order calms even the shaking hand that writes it. Where do you place the sentence? At the 4 gates of the day, upon waking, at midday, in the evening, and near midnight. The gates exist whether you honor them or not. They are hinges on which a 24-hour door swings. When you hang the same instruction on every hinge, the door stops squeaking and starts obeying. Say it once at each gate with full attention. Do not turn it into background noise. This is not a chant to anesthetize your mind. It is a command to deputize it. After you speak at a gate, sign the decree with one action that proves you are already inside what you named. Send the message. Prepare the document. Clear a small patch of your environment so there is room for the new. Action is the ink that keeps the sentence from fading under the heat of the day. What about the moments in between, when small leaks threaten the container? Install the CRC protocol. Cancel, replace, and close. If an old phrase rises, "Nothing ever budges, I'm always behind," do not negotiate with it. Cancel it out loud. Cancel that. Replace it by restating the sentence in short form. I have entered what is prepared. It appears within 24 hours by law. Close the file by saying sealed. Then move your body, stand, walk, or change rooms for 30 seconds to give your nervous system a physical cue that the case is closed. This whole maneuver takes under a minute and prevents hours of mental litigation you cannot win. You may ask whether you can customize the sentence. You can adjust phrasing to fit your mouth, but guard the pillars. If you prefer "I now step into" or "I now move into," fine. If ordained speaks more cleanly to your tradition than appointed, fine. If shows itself carries more life than becomes visible, fine. But do not erase now, do not delete already, do not abandon 24 hours, and do not omit by divine law. Those are not ornaments, they are load-bearing beams. People weaken keys by sanding off their edges to make them feel safer in the pocket. Then they wonder why the lock no longer turns. Keep the edges. Let us deal with the most common objections so your mind cannot use them to stall. What if I speak the sentence and feel nothing? Feeling is not the metric. Compliance is. A pilot does not feel whether the coordinates are correct. They check instruments and fly the plan. Your instruments are identity, timing, and outcome. If those are set and you have spoken with congruence, you are underway. What if nothing changes by tomorrow? Something will have moved, internally, relationally, administratively, if not in a headline, then in a hinge. Do not insult the first fruit because it is not a festival. A callback, a release of tension, a clear instruction from within, a correction on an account, an unexpected favor, these are legitimate proofs of motion. The seed is sprouting. Do not dig it up to satisfy curiosity. Is this naming and claiming? No, it is consenting and commanding. You are not fabricating a universe around your preferences. You are consenting to what has been appointed and commanding the day to cooperate with that appointment. A word about reverence, because power without it becomes noisy and brittle. Say the sentence with gratitude that you are invited to work with law and not against it. Gratitude is not seasoning, it is stabilizer. An ungrateful decree hardens into performance. A grateful one remains fluid and faithful. After speaking at a gate, whisper a brief thanks that the order is underway, then release the topic and return to your assignment for the hour. Reverence protects you from checking your phone like a gambler watching a slot machine. The law is not a casino, it is a court. Courts ask for dignity. Examples will help you feel the practicality. A woman who had rehearsed loneliness for years spoke the sentence and within the same day received an unexpected reconciliation. Burst as an apology in her inbox, then as a conversation that did not rewrite history but did release tomorrow. She did not manifest a person. She ended a jurisdiction of isolation by entering the life where connection was already appointed. A freelancer who had normalized feast and famine cycles issued the sentence at the gates and watched a past client revive a paused contract because your name came up this morning. He did not conjure money. He entered a prepared provision that his old language had been blocking. A graduate sifting for direction spoke the sentence, and inside the cycle, felt a crisp inner "this way" regarding a city she had avoided because of an old story. The clarity was not dramatic. It was authoritative. The door in that city was not invented by her decree. It became visible because she finally asked law for a map instead of asking anxiety for predictions. You may wonder how many days to use the sentence in this exact form. Keep it as your governing line for at least 3 days so your system learns the rhythm. After that, continue as long as it keeps bearing fruit, which for many will be indefinitely, not because the words are novel, but because the order they carry never goes out of season. Over time, the sentence will stop feeling like a tool you pick up and start feeling like a room you live in. That is the goal, to inhabit the decree so fully that your life cannot distinguish between your default tone and your declared tone. When those fuse, demonstration becomes ordinary. If you are still tempted to decorate the sentence with explanations to friends or to the air, remember this: every extra word is an opportunity for contradiction to re-enter. Precision is mercy. Speak the line, sign it with action, seal it with quiet, and let the field work. If someone asks why you are suddenly so steady, say, "I'm aligned." If they push for details, smile and repeat, "I'm aligned." You are not hiding secrets. You are honoring a process that fails under publicity. Royalty protects negotiation rooms from foot traffic. Finally, return for a moment to the beginning of this chapter and hear the sentence again, with ears now trained to its architecture. I now enter the life already appointed to me. It becomes visible within 24 hours by divine law. Let it ring in you until your cells understand that waiting has been fired, hustling has been demoted, and clarity has been hired as chief of staff. Let it move your shoulders back and your breath down. Let it take the crown off time's head and set it where it belongs, on jurisdiction. Then walk out of the room as if the order were stamped and the courier were already on the stairs. Because in the only court that matters for outcomes, it is, and they are. Power does not come from speaking once and hoping the echo does the rest. Power comes from rhythm, a lawful word delivered on schedule, protected from contradiction, and signed with congruent action. Rhythm is not superstition. It is architecture. When a building stands, it is because a pattern was repeated exactly, beam after beam, floor after floor, until structure emerged. Your 24 hours are the same. If you want your day to carry weight, you must decide which sentence will be the beam, which gates will be the floors, and which leaks you will refuse to let into the blueprint. We have named the governing line. I now enter the life already appointed to me. It becomes visible within 24 hours by divine law, and we have seen why it works. Now we install it into time so time obeys it. The protocol is simple, exact, and mercifully brief. The discipline is guarding it from your own mouth. Begin with the 4 gates. Think of a day as a door on 2 hinges at top and bottom and 2 in the middle. Dawn is a hinge. Midday is a hinge. Evening is a hinge. Midnight is a hinge. Hinges determine the swing. You may have beautiful wood, a polished handle, and perfect paint, but if the hinges are rusted, the door drags, shrieks, and discourages everyone who tries to pass through it. Oil the hinges, and the same door becomes effortless. Your sentence is the oil. At each gate, say it once with full attention. Do not rush. Do not mumble. Do not toss it into the air the way people throw coins at fountains. Stand, breathe, and speak like someone reading terms that already carry your name. At dawn, you set jurisdiction before the world makes its case. At midday, you correct drift before fatigue whispers old phrases through the back door. At evening, you recover any leaks and hand the day back to order. At midnight, you imprint the subconscious while the surface sleeps, so law has a clean desk for the night shift. After each gate, sign the decree with one small act that agrees with what you just said. This is not about theatrics. It is about integrity. If you have entered the life already appointed, then be found moving as one who belongs. After dawn's decree, send the message that has waited under the weight of hesitation. Return the file to the top of the stack. Clear a patch of your desk so there is literal space for the new. After midday's decree, decline one misaligned invitation, even if it flatters you. Choose one next step that advances the prepared path rather than impresses anyone. After evening's decree, put your environment in visible order. Clothes hanging, dishes set, calendar checked, so your eyes do not contradict your mouth. After the midnight decree, put the phone face down, close the tabs, quiet the room. That act tells your nervous system the order stands, there's nothing more to discuss. Actions do not convince God. Actions stabilize you. Stabilized people are easy for law to build around. Now to the guard. A sentence can be filed in the morning and pulled off the record by lunch if you let your mouth wander. Do not become a demolition crew for your own house. Guarding your speech is not about policing personality. It is about protecting jurisdiction. There are 3 common leak points: casual talk, anxious explanation, and internal narration. Casual talk sounds harmless because it tries to be funny. Watch me mess this up, knowing my luck. It's always something. Of course the other shoe will drop. These lines win a laugh and lose a day. Anxious explanation dresses as responsibility. You over-justify your direction to people who have no authority to approve it. Every extra sentence is a place where contradiction can climb in. Internal narration is the quiet killer. The mutter no one hears but you. It does not sound like rebellion, it sounds like weather. I'm behind, nothing moves for me, it never sticks. You will not outwork these leaks. You must close them. Use the CRC method as standard practice. Cancel, replace, close. When you catch a leak, out loud or inside, say, cancel that. Do not wrestle with it in thought, terminate it in sound. Replace with the short form of the governing line. I have entered what is appointed. It becomes visible within 24 hours by law. Close the file with a single seal word, settled. Then change your posture. Stand if you were sitting, walk if you were frozen, breathe deeper than the thought that tried to hijack you. This entire repair takes less than a minute and saves hours of spiral. Over time, CRC becomes reflex. You will cancel before the sentence finishes forming. That is not repression, that is leadership. Tighten your vocabulary. Law honors precision and ignores drama. Replace noisy, vague words with clean, operative ones. Instead of I'm trying, say I'm underway. Instead of I'm busy, say I'm prioritized. Instead of maybe, say I'll decide at noon, or this is not aligned. Instead of hopefully, say I expect demonstration. Instead of it's complicated, say there are 3 steps. I'm on step 1. None of this is pretend. It is training your mouth to stop outsourcing your future to mist. Vague language is a playground for delay. Precise language builds hallways the demonstration can run through without bumping into your apologies. Install silent windows where you refuse to discuss your decree publicly. The world treats big speech like content. Law treats it like contract. Contracts do not sit well in noisy rooms. From gate to gate, let your life speak more than your paragraphs. If someone asks how you are, you do not need a lecture. You need a line that stays in covenant with your instruction. Aligned and advancing. Order is underway, handled. If you want to process emotions, choose one trusted witness and set a time-limited container. Say what you must, then return to decree. Processing without decree is a treadmill. Decree without honest processing turns brittle. The marriage is wisdom. Name your truth, then govern it. Never confuse secrecy with stewardship, but do not confuse publicity with power either. Royalty speaks to architects more than to audiences. Create physical anchors so your environment conspires with you. Put the sentence, handwritten, not pasted, on one card at your bedstand, one at your desk, one inside a cabinet you open daily. Record it once in your own voice and set it as the first sound you hear on waking. Your voice training your nervous system will outperform any playlist. Keep a minimal log named Evidence of Order and list only hinges, not essays. 1042 email returned, terms improved. Borton 5 supervisor corrected billing. 1930 internal clarity to decline X. 2210 peace returned. This is not gratitude fluff, it is case law. When the mind tries to gaslight you at 3 a.m., open the file and present the record. Minds do not argue well with receipts. Address digital speech. Many people cancel their own decree in the comments section or in private messages where they believe God is less attentive and law is less literal. It is the same jurisdiction. If your online words would embarrass your morning decree, do not send them. Venting to strangers is paying a troll toll with your destiny. If you must write to clear your head, write in a private document and delete it after CRC. Do not publish your leaks and call it authenticity. Authenticity that sabotages law is not honesty, it is self-harm in pretty clothes. Anticipate the midday wobble. Around the 5th or 6th hour after waking, the nervous system asks whether you meant what you said at dawn. It does not do this to mock you. It does it to see if you will govern when you feel nothing. Expect the wobble, and you will treat it as a place to prove rhythm, not as a sign you failed. Prescript your midday decree and the single action that signs it. If you know you drift toward scrolling, pre-block those minutes. If you know you stall on outreach, schedule a 5-sentence message that advances your appointed path. A sentence plus a signature action turns wobble into hinge. Do not overshare the sentence with people who want to debate metaphysics. You are not here to win an argument, you are here to enforce a jurisdiction. If someone pokes at the 24-hour container, smile and decline the invitation to litigate. The container is not for them. It is for you. You will see the hinge or the door within the window. When you do, you will not need approval to call it real. You will have the receipt. Defending your decree is often a disguised way of asking strangers to be God for you. That is too heavy a burden to place on anyone and an insult to the law that already agreed to move when you spoke. Institute no sarcasm regarding self. Humor is holy when it heals. It is unholy when it hollows. If your wit trains the field to expect failure from you, your comedy is a slow contractor taking walls down while applauded for craftsmanship. Keep your jokes, but not at your own jurisdiction's expense. Replace self-mockery with self-honesty that is ruthless and loyal at once. I dropped my word at noon, I'm fixing it now. That line produces change. Typical me produces reruns. When resistance appears, and it will, because old patterns are territorial, answer with order, not theater. If an argument rises, lower your volume, slow your pace, and say, "This conversation is not aligned. I'm available at X time when we can speak in order." If a tempting detour shows up with exciting chaos, say, "Not in this window." If fatigue starts narrating, get up and move the body for 2 minutes, drink water, step outside for light. Biology matters. Law is not against your body, it wants your body on its side. A regulated nervous system is the best friend of decree, because it stops sending false alarms that steal your attention from what you've authorized. Introduce a daily contradiction audit before the evening gate. Ask 3 questions. Where did my words wobble today? Where did my actions disagree with my sentence? Where did alignment hold even under pressure? Write 1 line under each. Do not write a novel. From the wobble, plan a better response for tomorrow's similar moment. From the disagreement, choose 1 correction you can implement now. From the strength, Acknowledge it, because the mind notices what you celebrate and offers you more chances to repeat it. Auditing is not shame. It is stewardship. A steward who never looks at the books always ends up surprised and poor. Establish jurisdiction phrases for common scenarios so you are not improvising under stress. For unexpected bills, I am resourced and instructed. This clears an order. For schedule collisions, my day is prioritized. What is appointed fits. For delays, order is underway. I do not reopen the case. For confusion, clarity is present. I will know by noon. For opportunities, I welcome what is appointed. I release what is expensive to my decree. When such lines are ready, you can protect your morning sentence in the wild, without pausing to write poetry. Beware the loop of confession without course correction. Many spiritual people confess leaks beautifully, online, in groups, to themselves, and then repeat them unchanged. Confession is not completion. Completion is when the mouth reissues the order and the feet carry it. A perfect description of your problem that does not result in a changed sentence is a museum plaque under a broken statue. If you enjoy museums, visit them on weekends. Do not live in one. If you stumble and contradict yourself, do not dramatize it. Repair it. There is a difference between a crack and a collapse. CRC the moment. Restate the sentence at the next gate with full attention, and sign it with the next right action. Law is not looking for your perfection. It is enforcing your pattern. Pattern survives small cracks when the next piece is placed correctly. The only failure here is quitting the pattern because you embarrassed yourself with one leak. Pride would rather perform flawlessly than build faithfully. Humility builds. Prepare for the social friction that arrives when you stop narrating chaos. People accustomed to your anxiety may call your steadiness cold. People accustomed to your over-explaining may call your brevity evasive. People accustomed to your availability may call your boundaries selfish. Do not resent them. They are adjusting to the gravity of the new you. Name your change once with kindness. I'm practicing speaking less and building more. I've stopped narrating my process. You'll see the results. I answer to order now. I'll get back to you at X. Then, live it. Respectfully refusing to rejoin old loops is not rejection. It is leadership. Those who are ready for order will recognize the relief and follow. Those who are not will look for new hosts for their storms. Bless them and keep moving. Finally, formalize the day's closing. After the evening gate and before the midnight gate, walk through your space and touch 3 surfaces: a handle, a book, a chair, while thanking the day for obedience. This sounds quaint. It is not. Touch engages the body in agreement. Gratitude tells your system the case is progressing. Counting 3 ends the ritual with closure. Then at midnight, speak the sentence one last time. Hear the cadence settle. Add a seal like a judge leaving the bench. Recorded. No more analysis. No more refreshing inboxes. Sleep as someone who has dismissed court until morning. Courts do not unlock doors at 2 a.m. because a litigant panicked. Law respects hours. Let your sleep be a vote of confidence in the law you activated. If you live this protocol for a single cycle, you will feel steadier than the facts suggest you deserve to feel. If you live it for 3, you will begin to collect hinges that turn into doors. If you live it beyond that, you will notice your vocabulary changing without effort and your relationships arranging themselves around your clarity. All of this is ordinary in a jurisdiction of law. None of this requires a perfect personality. It requires a mouth that keeps its word, a body that signs the word, and a day that is told 4 times where it counts what it is for. Speak in rhythm. Guard your mouth, sign your decree, and watch how quickly a life becomes livable when its sentences stop apologizing for existing.